Louisiana voters will head to the polls in just a few weeks to weigh in on several constitutional amendments. The most complicated, Amendment 2, has spurred lawsuits claiming the ballot is using misleading language. I spoke with experts and lead attorneys to break it all down. Louisiana voters are familiar with casting ballots for constitutional amendments, but Amendment 2 on the March 29th ballot is unlike any other. It represents not just a small change to part of the Constitution, but a total rewrite of Article VII of Louisiana's Constitution of 1974, which addresses various elements of state and local finance. Barry Irwin from Leaders for a Better Louisiana says voters will definitely need to do their homework on this one.
Well, this is a big change, and it's really unlike anything voters have ever seen unless they were around to vote on the Constitution back in 1974.
Article VII is the longest section of Louisiana's Constitution and has undergone the most amendments. For various reasons, it has become a focal point for advocates pushing for a complete rewrite of the state constitution, and the 115-page amendment is up for the challenge.
What it does is take a lot of things that are in the Constitution, particularly tax exemptions and some special funds or savings account type things, and takes them out of the Constitution and puts them into statute. Really, I think of streamlining that part of the Constitution and giving the legislature more flexibility, especially over fiscal issues, to deal with things that otherwise they would have to go to voters and pass constitutional amendments to do.
Teacher retirement savings, pay raises, religious and nonprofit exemptions are among the most common areas of concern.
The way things are right now, teachers have been getting a temporary pay stipend over the last couple of years instead of a permanent pay raise. Now, we have huge debt in the teacher retirement system, and it's costing school districts tons of money each year to have to deal with that. So what this does is pay off a big chunk of that debt, but then it tells the districts you have to use that money to make that temporary teacher pay raise or stipend permanent. That's about $2,000 per teacher, about $1,000 for other school support personnel. And this is the way that the legislature is kind of going about doing a couple of things, paying off a big part of debt, which is really good, and then also using those savings to give teachers a raise that's been temporary but make it permanent now.
I also had a talk with Melinda DeLotte, Research Director at PAR, and she weighed in on the exemptions portion of Amendment 2. She says while there will be changes to protections, exemption status will not go away.
And the bottom line of that is it makes it so that if the legislature wanted to change some of those rules in the future, they would not have to go back to the people and ask them to vote on it. It would give the legislature the authority to make changes on its own with a 2/3 vote instead of requiring another constitutional amendment. So it doesn't change any level of property taxation that people currently have, any special status, any exemption they currently get would be maintained. It's just obviously some people are skittish because it would move their exemptions, like for nonprofits, their exemptions would be moved into state law, which is a lesser level of protection than if it's in the Constitution.
Meanwhile, a lawsuit has recently been filed challenging the amendment, claiming it removes protections and employs confusing jargon to mislead voters into supporting it. William Most, the lead prosecuting attorney, argues that the amendment's wording violates constitutional rights.
Amendment 2 on that ballot is not truthful with voters. It says it will keep certain things that it would actually destroy. For example, the ballot language says it will retain the exemption for religious organizations, but that's not true. They would actually see their protections substantially narrowed, and a lot of church and religious ministry property would be open to taxation.
Attorney Most says they will go all the way with this one because the outcome they want is simple: truth.
The plaintiffs in this case are asking that if we're going to change the state constitution, which is the foundational document for our state, that we make sure that we're following the rules and how we change it, and making sure that we're truthful with voters when we're asking them to vote. Because democracy only works if voters are told the truth about what they're being asked to vote on.
Now, Wednesday, a state judge refused the state's request to throw out the lawsuit over Amendment 2. Now, it's unclear whether the case will be settled before the March 29th deadline.